Norman coming at you once again with a new series that we're coming out with. This is the first episode of our series entitled League of Legends Basics or LoL Basics. What this series is going to go over is just very basic things that everybody needs to know about League of Legends. In this video I'm going to go over the types of roles that are in League of Legends. There's three main types of roles. In the background I'm just playing a little bit of Ashe. The first role that we're going to be going over is the carry. A carry is somebody that can basically single-handedly change the outcome of a fight or the game in general sometimes. This champion usually is the one that needs a lot of farm as well as needs a lot of kills, is usually given some kills from the team when possible. During ganks and things like that, they're usually trying to feed them, make them as strong as possible, as fast as possible. There's two basic kinds of carries. There's an AP carry and there's an AD carry. An AP carry, an ability power carry, is usually a mage of some sort, like a Brand. We have a video up on Brand. The Brand is one great AP carry. AP carries usually, not always, but usually rely on a lot of burst damage, and they try to kill their enemies as fast as possible. The other type of carry is an AD carry, or an attack damage carry. These carries, like Ashe, usually have some burst, but rely on a lot of sustain damage, which is a higher DPS, damage per second, damage over time. If you've ever played WoW or any other MMO, you know what I'm talking about. But it's being able to keep your damage high the entire fight, and not relying on so much, just blow them up as fast as possible and run away. The carries usually need to be a little more farmed, and you always want to get them as farmed as possible so you have a better chance of winning team fights. But there are some characters that can carry and still have a lot of beefiness to them. Carries are usually a little bit squishier, and that's where we're going to go into our tanks. A tank is, I wouldn't say the polar opposite of a carry, but it's a lot different. Tank is someone that usually initiates the fight and goes in there before everybody else, usually the first one in, last one out sort of thing. They go in, they usually have some sort of CC, either a stun, a snare, something to hold the enemy down while the carry is allowed to basically do free damage on the enemy champions. Tanks include Alistar, Amumu, Malphite, characters like that, beefier characters that have either abilities that make them a little more beefy to sustain basically getting beat on, or they build items that increase their damage, their health, and their actual magic resistance and armor. Really easy. The tank's job primarily is to initiate fights, but a tank also has to remember that without their carry, the team fight could be lost very easily. So if a tank can do what I call peel, or take an enemy off a carry if the carry's getting wailed on, then that is really good, because that means your carry's going to live longer, and therefore you have a higher chance of winning a team fight. Of course, you want to keep as many people on your team alive at the end of a team fight anyways, but if you can keep your carry alive over keeping another, say a support alive. Supports are another type of role. The support role is somebody that either with heals, shields, usually have some sort of CC, but what they do is they allow your team to sustain in their lane longer so they can sit in that lane and farm, usually with the carry. They can just, usually with the carry, but sometimes with the tank, and they just let you free farm and get those last hits that you need. The support late game, their role is basically to make sure that the carry is alright. With like Janna or Soraka, Janna will bubble their AD carry, giving them higher damage, increasing their base attack damage, and increasing their survivability through the shield health itself. But it's not always the case that you can just focus on the AD carry as Janna. Sometimes you need to bubble the AP carry. That is perfectly fine if needed to ensure a kill or an ace on the other team. Support characters are usually AP. There are some few exceptions, but with an AP support, it just, a lot of people undervalue AP supports because they don't do any damage, so therefore they're not good, because kill death ratio is everything. And that's a lot of the reason why people don't like to play tanks, because they look at that kill death ratio and they think, I've only killed one person and I've died 4 times. But you may have 12 assists or 13 assists, and that means that you are helping your team to win fights. And in my personal opinion, which it's been said by multiple different people, is it's not kills that necessarily win games. A lot of times it's assists and tower kills that win games. If you can get a couple characters with a high number of assists and your AP or AD carry has a lot of kills, then that would mean that your AP carry is very strong, and you're very strong because you have all those assists, because assists still give you a pretty good chunk of money, and that money can be used to make yourself beefier, do a little bit more damage, whatever you need as that type of tank. The carry's job later on in the game, of course, this is after maybe the middle turrets are dead and you're trying to find a footing to be able to get that one ace or that one kill that's going to allow you to proceed to win the game. What your job is to do is to get farm when you can. You need to still focus on those last hits, get that farm. If you need to steal some jungle, and just try to make yourself even more strong for the late game, so you have a better chance of winning. The one thing that a lot of people are doing, which I don't personally agree with, is building what's called a glass cannon. It's basically an AD or AP carry that just stacks a ton of hit points, or a ton of damage, not hit points. And what this does is it makes you hit really hard, and you can sustain your damage, you can do a lot of damage. But if their carry or their anti-carry or their tank or their support or whatever gets close to you and starts wailing on you, it's highly likely that you're gonna die. And that's the last thing you want, especially in a team fight, is to die, especially as your carry, as your team's carry. If you die as your team's carry, it can be the difference between winning a team fight or losing the game. It's that simple. If you die in the wrong team fight, you can lose the game for your team. I don't mean to put that kind of weight on a carry's shoulders, but a carry does have one of the more important roles in the game. Not the most important by any means. There is no most important role. Every role is just as important as each other. But a carry's role is a little bit more stressful when you get into some games and you feel like you have to do so good, or else your team's just gonna flop and you're gonna lose. So a lot of pressure goes into those carries. But with a good tank and good support and a good carry with you, you can really nullify that, and they can take that weight off your shoulders. And that's the greatest feeling ever, is when you go into a game and you know, wow, these people know what they're doing, and I don't feel like I have to do everything in order to win this game. And the same feeling can go as a tank or a support. And with the tank, the hardest thing for me to learn as a tank is to know which fight I can initiate into and which fight I cannot, which I think is the key thought process, or key ideal that a tank needs to know, is which fight is it okay for my team to be able to do enough damage to win and to be able to live long enough to win. Sometimes there are tanks that make bad calls. They shouldn't be completely flamed or trolled or be called idiots or whatever just because they made a bad call. Yeah, it may lose your team the game, but it's a learning process for everyone. Everyone is always learning. There is nobody that has finished their learning process. Everyone is learning a little bit every day, and I think that people need to realize this and just let some things go. You lose a team fight because, let's say, your enemy Malphite ults into a 5-man team and he just gets obliterated and blown up, and then you don't have a tank and your team ends up getting pushed because you're missing your tank, and there's only 4 of you and it's 4v5. They're pretty fed and they just run you guys over, and you lose 2 towers, or you lose 3 towers, and you lose an inhibitor. Doesn't really matter, but you shouldn't immediately start attacking him just because he made a bad move. If he made a mistake, say, hey, you made a mistake, and then hopefully he doesn't make it again. If he continually makes it, it does get a little upsetting, and it's hard to keep your composure and keep quiet. But it's worth a try, because you're more likely to win if everyone's happy or everyone's getting along than if you start yelling at each other and fighting and everything else. I can't tell you how many games I've lost just because of the fact that people get pissed off and then everybody's mad at each other and they're fighting and they're bickering, and there's all this issue and drama and crap that really doesn't need to be there, and it's over something silly like our jungler didn't start blue because he didn't feel that he could and started red buff or something. I have had games that people fight over this, and is there really a reason to? Not really. It's everybody's game to play. Especially in normal games. If you're playing a normal game and you're throwing a big old fit with your team because somebody's doing X thing or trying Y deal or laning with Lanewick or jungling with Morgana or whatever they're doing, that is how innovation in this game grows and progresses to be an amazing game, is people are always doing different things. So in closing, basically what I want to say is, don't get mad at each other. Let bygones be bygones and just let the game go as it is. In future videos, we're going to go over all the carry, the tanks, the support. But right now, I'm going to close this video out. We will be releasing more champion videos. In the next couple days, we will also be releasing more LoL basic videos, and I will be releasing another LoL shop video if all goes to plan and I don't have something bad happen. But I will see you guys next time.